Welcome to One Bills Lite, presented by Kaleida Health, your streamlined version of One Bills Live that airs every Monday to Friday from noon to 3 Eastern Time in Buffalo and Rochester and on most of your podcast platforms. Here on One Bills Lite, we're not only considerably shorter than our daily 3-hour program, we're essentially a highlight reel of the week. And Steve and I also provide fresh content on everything Bills and the NFL. Let's get started.
And it's Steve Tasker who has been all over the field.
Kind of unique. He was kind of a dual-role player for you. Steve!
A balloon.
Steve! A blimp? We're not even in the stratosphere of normalcy here. So, Steve, welcome to episode 1 of One Bills Lite. Do you feel just lighter being here right now?
I do. I feel so I need a snack. After.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll see if we can get a sponsor to help us with that in future episodes.
Yes.
When in doubt,
we need a cash register.
Get a sponsor to help you.
Right.
And we open the program with what we like to call the numbers game. Do you have your tinfoil hat ready?
I do.
Put that on?
Figuratively speaking.
Yes. So we know, Steve, that the Dallas Cowboys defense has been awful, okay? They haven't been able to stop Granny from crossing the street, let alone some NFL team from scoring points. But you might ask, Steve, how bad are they? They're pretty bad. They've given up 218 points this season, the most ever by a team in its first 6 games in the Super Bowl era.
36.3 points a game.
Good math, Steve. Well done.
I'm looking at it right
Way
here.
to calculate.
It says it right here. That's unbelievable.
So that puts him on pace to give up 581 points this season, which would be the most by a team in NFL history. The question for you, Steve, do you think they get that record? Do you think they get to 581 and stay on pace to break the record?
Here's what I would have said yes had Dak Prescott stayed healthy, because they would have scored some points and forced some teams to keep their foot on the gas.
Okay.
With Andy Dalton, I don't know that they're going to score enough points for teams to really have to push to score 36 points a game and get that record.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So I don't think they're going to face these teams aren't going to really have to push their foot on the gas to beat them now. The Arizona Cardinals held them to 3 points.
Yeah.
That's not going to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because I was looking at a completely different way. I was thinking, okay, Andy Dalton's in. They're not going to be able to stay on the field. That other team's going to be coming at him with more possessions.
Point too.
And I'm thinking they can't stop anybody. If that other team has more possessions, they're going to be scoring more points every week.
That's a good way to look at it. But I think Andy Dalton will play better as the season goes along. They'll get used to what Andy does well and what he's an underrated thrower of the football. He's not a great quarterback, but he is a very steady and consistent quarterback. Yeah. He'll give him some good plays. And that's going to be the question. How good does the Dallas offense play? Do they put any pressure? Can they stay within a point or two or a possession or two of these teams so that they keep their foot on the gas offensively and go after it?
Yeah, because I just think opportunity is all these opponents need. The Giants scored 34 against them, Steve.
So,
And they don't have to get to 581, because the current record held by the Baltimore Colts of 1981 was 532 points. That's the most points allowed in a 16-game season in NFL history. So they don't have to even stay on pace to get 581. They just need to get to 533.
That's like a field goal a game.
33 points a game, little over.
More. So yeah, it's 33 points.
Yeah.
They might get it.
They might get there.
They might get there.
I think they could. I really think they could, because I don't think the offense is going to hum as much with Dalton in there and no Dak Prescott.
So you think they're going to give the opponents more chances?
More chances, more points.
I just
break
don't know
the record.
If opponents are going to feel the pressure that they got to score. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the only thing that'll
start handing
take
it
their
off.
foot off the gas.
You know, they might go into their 4-minute offense midway through the third quarter.
Shorten the game.
Yeah.
The 0-16 Lions of 2008, in case you were interested, were next on the list. 516 total points, 32.3 points per game. Right now, the Cowboys are allowing more points per game, Steve, in the first half than 12 other NFL clubs are allowing in full games.
So
They're
bad.
giving up 22.8
points
points a half.
I get it. Listen, it all kind of crashed in on him. Dak gave him a chance. He really did. I love the way Dak was playing. You hate to see what happened to him happen to him. We've seen it other times. And, people, they bellyache and they moan when these players hold out for deals. But let me tell you something. It's a real thing. There's no guarantee that you're going to be able to finish the season or even have any more games in your career after this coming game this week. So kudos to guys who hold out because they believe in something and want to bet on themselves. And kudos to guys who do bet on themselves and have it come through. Guys like Joe Flacco. He bet on himself in a contract year. Bang,
he's
Super
the
Bowl
ultimate
champion, Super Bowl MVP.
In a contract year.
And highest paid quarterback of the league.
Yeah.
Boom. Good for him. So
timing.
I'm all for it because it works both ways.
Now I'm going to ask you, Steve, to reach to the deeper recesses of your cerebral cortex to tell me if you can remember a team from the 90s that you played against that just gave up points at an alarming rate. Does anybody stick out to you on a defense that you knew could not stop anyone? Because I'm going to give you the 3 worst teams in the 90s, but I'm curious if you have any idea.
I don't know. I mean, I've been reading some things lately about the Jet defense in '96.
Okay.
But they were in a bunch of games that were one-score games too, so I don't think they were that bad. The '96 Jets they were 1-15. But that's it. That's the only team that stands out of that for opponents.
So let's see if you can guess these, because I'm going to give you some clues now, okay?
All right.
See if you can name the 3 worst points allowed defenses of the 1990s, Steve, when you were in your heyday. Okay, so here's the first team. In 1996, this NFC team gave up 29.1 points per game as the worst point prevention defense in the NFL that year. And they're actually tied with another version of their squad from 1987, which also gave up 29.1 points per game in 1987. So we're thinking historically bad.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
That is an excellent guess, but it is wrong.
Well, thank you.
You're in the right area of the country.
Thank you.
I'll give you one more try at it.
Your positive backhanded slap.
Can you think of a team that had poor defenses for years on end in the late 80s and the 90s?
Man, this is not good for us.
Think of a bad team that really didn't win a lot of football games in the late 80s and 90s in the NFC.
In the NFC.
Yeah, kind of in the basement of their division perennially. And
Arizona Cardinals.
That's another good guess, but it's the Atlanta Falcons.
Oh.
Yeah, 96 Atlanta Falcons, worst defense in the league, and also in 87, same team. Okay, second team. In 1990, this AFC team allowed almost 29 points per game, which proved to be the worst in the league that year. And your first AFC title team, Steve, contributed to that horrible average by beating them 42-0 in 1990. Can you name that AFC team that had a god-awful defense?
That had to be the New York Football Jets.
It is not the New York Jets. 42-0.
42-8. 42-0.
I was figuring that game would stand out to you.
The Patriots?
It's not the Patriots. It's the Cleveland Browns of 1990. You beat them 42-0. And you correctly guessed, Steve, the third team of the 90s that had the worst points allowed defense. It was the 1-15 1996 New York Jets. Finished with the second worst in the league, next to the aforementioned Atlanta team. And again, your 1996 team beat that Jets team once in a lopsided 35-10 affair.
That was Monday Night Football, wasn't it?
Yeah, to add to their embarrassing total. Yeah. That game was 4 days before Thanksgiving that year. All right, the other number this week involves Buffalo's opponent, Steve, the Jets. Jets head coach Adam Gase has 30 wins and 40 losses as a head coach in the NFL between Miami and New York. How many of Adam Gase's 40 career losses do you think have been by double digits? And I'll give you a hint. One happened in week 1 when the Bills played him.
Yeah, hold on. I think I know this. I think Adam Gase has more double-digit losses than he has victories in the NFL.
That is correct.
30. I think he's 30 wins. I think he has 31 double-digit losses.
You have nailed that. You must have read that somewhere. 31 of his career losses have been by double digits.
Hail to the New York media for putting that. When you read up on these games, you kind of,
whoo,
they uncover every rock with every yuck underneath it.
With Adam Gase specifically, though, what do you think is the missing ingredient for him as a head coach? Because it has not gone well in 2 places now. And there are other extenuating circumstances. I'm not going to deny that for a second. But is there something missing in his DNA that maybe keeps him from being a successful head coach?
I think it's his. Well, even in Miami and also, and particularly in New York now, the roster has deteriorated underneath him. I think it did in Miami as well in his tenure. He won 10 games his first year. They went to the playoffs, and then it began to erode underneath him. I think he needs, obviously, like every coach does. I mean, this is nothing new. But I think he needs a veteran-led locker room with strong player leadership who those players don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
When that happens, when he showed up in Miami, there were some guys there that could handle the locker room and keep them going and keep them professional. I think Adam Gase is an okay play caller and a quarterback coach and that kind of thing. But when you add on everything that a head coach is required to do, he has not shown that he can handle that.
Yeah, I just don't see him as a leader of men. I think he could be a good schemer, play caller, as you said. He just doesn't strike me as a leader of men, a guy that can command the room and get people to believe, hey, we're going to be all right with this guy, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think he handles an offense and a quarterback pretty well. I just don't think he handles an NFL team, a defense very well, or schematically.
Ryan Tannehill.
And I don't know about his ability to handle a staff.
Yeah, Ryan Tannehill might respectfully disagree with your comment about.
I get all that. I get all that.
His career has blossomed since he separated himself from that guy.
Well, that's the difference. I'll tell you what, Mike Vrabel, that guy's a leader.
Yeah.
Sean McDermott's a leader. Mike Tomlin's a leader. You got guys in the league that would be successful with a number of different teams.
Yeah.
Forget about, because most of them, like Mike Tomlin, Vrabel, and Sean McDermott, guys like that, they built that thing from the ground up.
Yeah.
Gase has never been really asked to do that.
No.
And in New York, I don't know that they have.
I don't know they can, though.
I don't know that. Right. I don't know if he can, but I don't know that the ownership group in New York ever asked one of their coaches to do that.
Yeah. And maybe they didn't in Miami either. They might have said, hey, make this Tannehill guy go.
Yeah.
And the Jets may have said the very same thing. We're going to draft a quarterback. You're going to have to make him go.
That's right. And that's all they asked him to do.
Yeah, and he hasn't done it in
And a
either
head
place.
coach in the NFL, you've got to be offense. You got to be defense. You got to be special teams. You got to be roster management. You got to get a coaching staff in there that can develop players. You got, scheduling. You got 1,000 things you've got to be completely responsible for and delegate to quality people who you recognize. And, Gase has never been either tasked with some of that and certainly not gotten it done had he been.
All right, good discussion there. Time now for our best interview from the week on One Bills Live. Here's Good Morning Football's Kyle Brandt, who was ready to talk Bills when he joined us for his weekly segment. Kyle, we've played 2 games since we last spoke to you, and they have not gone well, my friend.
No, what the hell happened here, guys? The last time we spoke, let's just do a quick recap. Let's timestamp this.
Do we need to?
When last we spoke, Chris is wearing a Ron Burgundy wig and a mustache and a jacket. We were talking about Steve's hair. The Bills are 4-0. It's Mardi Gras in Western New York. It's the best time of our lives. And then just 2 clock cleanings later in 1 week, you guys are dressed normally. There's no wigs, no mustaches, but I refuse to be down. I'm not going to do it. That's not my job when I come in here. I'm going to inject energy into this thing. So, holy crap, that was a rough week.
Yeah, it was tough. And you knew going in, there were 2 really good football teams in the AFC Championship a year ago, and the winner of that game actually wins the Super Bowl. You're facing the MVP of the league 2 years ago and the Super Bowl MVP last year. I mean, you figured last night's game was going to be a test for the Bills. It was a close game. You miss a field goal at the end of the first half to tie it up. You kind of feel like you kind of got yourself together. And man, oh man, it just never felt like the Bills had any semblance of hope in that second half, even though the scoreboard said it was close.
Yeah, I would look at it this way, Steve. If you had told us a week ago, here's the deal, guys, the Bills are going to lose both these games, it would be a little punch in the throat, but the real devastating overhand right is how. When you hear how they lost, it's not that they lost to the Titans and Chiefs. I don't know. I don't really think they belonged with them for most of those games. In that we started our show this morning. I'd be interested to hear how you started yours. It was just, are the Bills still one of the best teams in the FC? And the answer is no. Right now, the Buffalo Bills are a good team. They're not a great team. We know that. And maybe they will be. Maybe they will be in 2 months. Maybe they will be in 2 weeks. Right now, they're one of the also-rans in the AFC. Now, that doesn't mean that they're at the bottom of the barrel. They're not going to the playoffs. Maybe they will go to the playoffs. It just means they're a B. They're the 3-star restaurant. They're not the 4. And that's all right, I think, for now. I put it this way. I'd rather be having this conversation right now than as we're getting close to Christmas and they look like they've been cruising and they got fat and happy on a 10-1 record. They're taking their lumps now. And I can't imagine McDermott's not giving them more, because I knew a Sean McDermott team could lose. I did not think that this man's team would get all run over, would commit more dumb penalties. Like, if it's chair throwing time for McDermott, it's about right now.
Well, he described the problems. He often says, we try to identify little pebbles as problems that we have, and we address them early so they don't become boulders. And after last night's game, he said, we have some boulders to take care of. So I don't know if he's handing out rock hammers. I don't know if Andy Dufresne's coming by to teach him how to do that. But they've got some big problems to address here, as Coach McDermott himself sees it. Fortunately for them, they've got the Jets on the schedule next to try to right some of the wrongs.
It's simple. In the Bills locker room, they got a big old poster of Raquel Welch, and behind it there's a tunnel, and the tunnel goes all the way to MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, and they're just going to crawl through there. That is like the schedule gods usually screw you. Man, we can't play this team. This is beautiful. This is a spa week. They're going to play the game against the Jets in robes with cucumbers on their eyes, and they're going to play Enya in the stadium, and slippers with their little names embroidered on it. This is the greatest gift ever from the schedule gods, and I don't even want to hear any given Sunday. Right now, the Jets can barely line up all right. Joe Flacco, who I totally respect and feel bad for, is their quarterback. This is perfect. Get right, read a magazine, get in the hot tub, relax, tackle, do the things you're supposed to do, and then we'll resume the season. But this is a nice day at the Burke Williams Spa. They're getting a mani-pedi. It's going to be beautiful.
Yeah. What do you think? I know this. The Bills gave up a lot of yards last night. And of course they gave up some yards to Derrick Henry and the Titans and all of that stuff. And do you think? I mean, I don't think it's just one thing. Run defense aside, do you think if they fix their run defense, everything gets a little better? Or do you think? I mean, last night they were in a close game and even the offense couldn't answer the bell. So
I know.
It's not just I don't think there's a magic wand or one problem that needs to be solved.
Yeah, I agree with you, Steve. That even when they cut it to a score last night, it just didn't feel like it was ever going to happen. You get kind of excited. They score late. Maybe we can pull it out. And then Mahomes just kind of snaps his fingers and they hand it off. He makes a play, move the chains. Good night, Irene. Listen, if they could wave a magic wand, which they can't, and make the run defense like it was a few years ago, and then I'm worried about the run offense all of a sudden. And, I love to see Josh Allen running around, and they actually had some good scripted runs for him last night. But I don't want him to be the leading rusher on the team. I don't even want him to be close. We got young, fresh-legged running backs on this squad. You don't see a lot about them. I liked a little flash of what I saw from Moss last night, but this has got to be a different deal. It's the Josh Allen show. This is what I would say. Everybody take a deep breath and just soak in a few things. You're probably not going to go 13-3. I don't think Josh Allen is going to win the MVP of the NFL this year. I think that is gone. And that's all right. It's not the goal of the season. The goal of the season is to win the division and win a playoff game or two. Take a deep breath, reestablish who you are, and enough of this. They're not the greatest show on turf. Josh Allen throwing for 350, blah, blah, blah. Maybe that's not what's going to work for them in the long term. I would like to make a few tackles, and I'd like to have some running plays that work better before the next Josh Allen MVP campaign comes up. And I'm a supporter of it. I got the gentleman's name on my shirt right here. I love him, but I don't know if that's the recipe for the Bills month after month.
We've said off the air in between, this game looked like it did 2 years ago in Josh's rookie season. That's kind of the way that team played yesterday. There's just, there's a lot of problems going on, and you see some hints of what we think is in there and what we've seen in the first 4 games of this year. We've seen hints of that, and we see flashes of it, but it looks like that, last night particularly, it looked like it was 2018, and Josh was rookie looking all over the place.
And Steve, it's 2018, and is it going to be 2025? Here's the deal. The Bills are going to grow old with this dude, with Josh Allen, with McDermott, God willing. It's going to be years to come. But Mahomes isn't going nowhere. Lamar Jackson's going nowhere. All these guys are going to grow old with Josh Allen. So they're his peers, and he may have another one down in Miami now. So it's like it's never going to get easier. It's never like, all those guys are going to fall off. They're all going to be great. You have to eventually beat them, and we'll get there eventually, I hope.
You mentioned Miami.
Yeah.
The news came down after you were off the air on your show. So how does this one grab you? The Dolphins are suddenly a game behind the Bills in the division, and they turn to Tua now.
What do
with
they do?
Fitz playing well? I mean, you're a game out with 11 games to play.
Should the Bills send the Dolphins a thank you card for this?
Well, I don't think so. I think some of the initial reactions, and they totally make sense, are, whoa, 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 what are you doing? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think the opposite way. I think for years, the Miami Dolphins have been prisoners of the moment, short-term thinking, just stay with what's working if anything's working. This is a bold move that tells me that Flores and his assistants are saying, you guys have no idea what we have in this Tua kid. We do. We're not keeping him on the bench for another second. They didn't put him out there because he came at the end of the game against the Jets, completed a couple passes. I think they're putting him out there because they've been watching him for 6 weeks, and he's a phenom. And they know the other thing. Listen, you guys know this as well as anybody. Fitzpatrick is not going to keep winning. We have 15 years of experience with this. He goes on a nice ride, he gets you in the mix, and then it usually falls off. That's the facts. So it's almost like they're saying, we're not going to wait for the fall. We know Ryan, what he is and what he isn't. He's throwing a few picks. We're eking out some wins, but we're going to beat it. And we believe in this kid. And instead of waiting 2 weeks from now when we have 2 more losses to put him in, we're going to put him in now. It's bold, but I actually really respect it. It's easy to stay with Fitz. A lot of teams stayed with Fitz. He falls off. The roller coaster goes down. I like this move.
And then how do you think that changes the landscape of the division here, Kyle? Because we know that the Patriots are struggling. They were in and out of their facility. They could practice. They couldn't practice. It kind of revealed itself on the field last week. You know, fumbling, bumbling, stumbling. I know they didn't have their center, and that contributed to it. But they don't look like they have receivers that can even get open.
Yeah, they look bad. Here's my own take on the division, okay? Bills have to decide how good they want to be. They have to decide if they want to be a great team or not, and they got a few weeks to do that. We know what we feel about them. The Jets are obviously the Jets. They may go 0-16, they may go 2-14. They're irrelevant. The Patriots, I'm in no way setting aside. Understand that. I do not. I'm not going to have the naivete to say, well, they don't have it together. That last game, it was ugly as hell. They had 2 practices in 2 weeks. Their quarterback was coming off the COVID list. He's new to begin with the team. I still think a month from now we'll be talking about New England is in the mix. And let's not forget, they don't lose to Sean McDermott and Josh Allen. I wish they would, for the sake of variety and entertainment, but they don't. And until they do, I'm not saying, well, the Patriots are cooked. I don't care if they lost to Denver. And then lastly, Miami is the ultimate enigma in this thing. If Tua comes out and looks anything like he should, they can run away. I'm telling you, I believe that if Tua was not hurt, he would be on the Cincinnati Bengals right now. I think he would have been the number 1 pick of the draft over Joe Burrow. He was that good. We are that quick to forget that he was an absolute phenom. If he catches something, and the Dolphins have receivers, and the Dolphins can run the ball a little bit, dangerous as hell. Really dangerous.
I was going to ask you, what else do the Dolphins have? I mean, the Bills played them, and it was a tussle for the Bills in Miami down there. What else are the Dolphins good enough in the rest of their roster if Tua comes in, lights it up, say like he does a Justin Herbert or a Joe Burrow, has a pretty good stretch for a month or so? Where could the Dolphins get to?
I don't know, Steve. I like them a lot. I don't think they're great defensively, and they still have a lot of future picks, and they're going to go down the road to be defensively, but they have receivers. They got these running backs now, this Myles Gaskin, this guy who's taken all the carries for Miami more or less away from better-known guys like Jordan Howard, runs hard, doesn't care, is someone who's not expected much of and isn't impressed by it. And Fitzpatrick's winning. Tua's skill set is unbelievable. It's a little bit like we saw from Kyler last night. Everybody's watching Kyler Murray against the Cowboys, just blown away by his talent and his speed. It's a little bit like that, except left-handed, maybe even a slightly more accurate passer. So if they give him Tua and he's got receivers and he got a running game, they're going to have to score some points because I don't think the defense is great. It's just a matter of ceiling. It's Ryan Fitzpatrick was going to do what he was going to do, and the Dolphins are saying, we think we can take this division. We think we can rattle off, 5 out of the next 6. And knowing about Tua's talent like I do, I would not love it if I was a Bills fan. I'd like safe old Fitzpatrick wherever he is, keep him on the field. We know him. We're not afraid of him. The Tua thing is a little scary.
Talk to me, talking to Kyle Brandt from Good Morning Football, here with us every week on Tuesdays. Talk to me about who you think is the class of the conference right now. Is it Pittsburgh? Is it Tennessee? Or is it still Kansas City right now? Those are the three at the top record-wise, but who do you like the best? Right now, who's the power in this conference?
I love Pittsburgh, and I don't pat myself on the back because no one cares after 5 seconds. But in August, I picked the Pittsburgh Steelers to win the whole Super Bowl, like the entire thing. Because here's the deal with Pittsburgh. You know their defense was going to be great, and there was no secret. Everybody knew it. The question was going to be Roethlisberger. Can they have enough offense? I bet on Roethlisberger making that pick. I have not seen Ben Roethlisberger on the field in years, maybe if ever, look more comfortable. His body language is almost positive and happy, borderline goofy. He's smiling and joking with referees. We've seen ornery Roethlisberger for years. Always banged up, always dealing with some headache in the huddle. There's none of that now. It's young, cohesive teams with a Hall of Fame quarterback, a crazy defense. And they just, listen, the Browns are supposed to be a threat in that division. They didn't belong in the same field. Yeah. The Devin Bush injury, the middle linebacker, is not great. It is not going to help. I love Pittsburgh. Can't say it enough.
I called that the Who's Your Daddy game last week because Pittsburgh is just Cleveland's daddy. It's just over and over and over again.
Yeah, you already mentioned them, and you said that you weren't going to count. It's not time to say goodbye to the Patriots yet. But I've heard it. I heard a clip, and I've seen it on social media. There are actually fans in New England and media people who are saying, like, wow, Bill Belichick has lost it. It's totally over, and it's time to I busted out laughing. I thought it had to be sarcasm. But apparently it's not. And, there are some problems in New England. Obviously, they've been, out of the building like the Titans were. They haven't been practicing and stuff. But now they're all over a guy who has gone to 9 Super Bowls and won 6 of them.
Yeah, they're all jumping into the Charles River.
What are they doing?
Well, I think it's the same people who I saw were saying about the Packers. Let's take a look at this Jordan Love. I think we've seen enough. Can we get Jordan Love suited up and get him a few snaps?
Right.
Come on. Take everybody, calm down. I think with the Belichick thing, Steve, I think what it is they want it to happen, and they're trying to will it to happen, and they would love to see Belichick just go 4-12. But then here's the worst part. Then they would have that happen and say, yay, Belichick suffered. And then Belichick's going to draft an amazing quarterback because he's going to have like the number 4 pick in the draft. Either way, they lose. But the idea of somebody sitting here because, well, they lost Tom Brady and they had a huge issue with COVID, had 2 practices in 2 weeks and lost the field goal contest means Belichick's head's on a stake. Everybody just relax. Come on. I know you want it. You'll get it eventually, but not right now.
Right.
And then finally, for me, Kyle, there are rumors circulating now that the Washington football team will be making a play for Cam Newton. Obviously, they're connecting the dots between him and Rivera for their quarterback situation, which I guess you would say is muddled at best right now. Could you even see that being in the cards for Cam to reunite with Ron Rivera?
Chris, this is a real thing. I don't see all the things you guys do. People are saying Cam to Washington?
Yeah. For next year.
Wow. All right.
Because he's only on a 1-year deal.
All right, so Cam to Washington next year.
Yes, because he's only on a 1-year deal.
I didn't see that because I was seeing Jets trade Sam Darnold to Dallas like before the deadline. That's the hot one that I'm seeing in the streets this morning because the Cowboys are going to say, we're all alone in first place with one of the worst teams we've ever had. What if we get a different quarterback? Maybe we can win a few playoff games. I don't see that either. But Cam to Washington, probably not. Short of Cam doing some different things this year. I never got the impression that Rivera was in love with Cam anyway. I think Rivera right now might love Kyle Allen more than he loves Cam Newton for a million reasons. So next season, sure, maybe so. But also Washington might be taking Trevor Lawrence next season.
Yeah, I want to ask you about those Cowboys last night. Yeah, they looked horrible.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
Kyler Murray, on the other hand, looked great. And listen, I lost 2 Super Bowls to the Cowboys, so I got no love loss against those guys.
Have at them, Steve.
Right, but I don't. But man, oh man, was Mike McCarthy a mistake? What's because I always thought the Cowboys had some talent.
That's a good question. I think that Mike McCarthy is maybe learning that it's very difficult to win without Aaron Rodgers. And I really mean that. When you have a seminal generational quarterback who really never turns the ball over and has you in contention every single year, it's great. And he probably told the Jones boys when he was trying to close the job, hey, my teams don't turn the ball over, and I know offense, and I know this, and they probably just lapped it up. Andy Dalton is not Aaron Rodgers. Andy Dalton is not Dak Prescott. I have no beef with Andy Dalton. He is what he is. I don't blame him for last night's. I can't even – we tried to discuss the Cardinals this morning. Are they good? I was like, I don't know. Are the Globetrotters good when they beat the Washington Generals? They're just doing bucket of confetti and a bunch of nonsense. It's not even like a real opponent, which is a terrible, terrible thing to say. But when Mike McCarthy attempted a field goal down about 50 points or whatever it was to cut it to 47 points, I just didn't know what he was doing. He seems to have lost all sense of himself. He looks totally miserable on the sideline. And so are all of us who want to celebrate the Cowboys. You know, I don't have a bias to the Cowboys, but I think it's more fun when they're involved. And, oh, my God, it's really, really bad.
And yet at 2-4, they remain in first place in the NFC East.
I know. I still think the Eagles are going to win that division, though. The Eagles lost to Baltimore this past weekend. They made it close. It almost felt like a win. That's how bad it is. I'm saying I have it at 6-9-1 is going to win the NFC East. And here's the crazy part. Remember when the Eagles tied the Bengals and everybody was screaming about Doug Peterson and he went for a tie and didn't take the win? I think that tie is going to get them into the playoffs. I really do. And that stupid, miserable tie is better than a loss. I mean, it's a tie in the NFC East is like 3 wins right now. So they tied, and that team may come full circle and get them in.
It is.
The analytics gurus will be all over that.
A tie means you gain a half a game on the entire division.
They'll have a new metric.
Nobody else is winning.
They'll have a new metric, winning percentage above expected value on ties. Just wait for it. It's coming. If Philadelphia pulls off what Kyle just suggested.
Please, Chris, save this clip. And when the Cowboys finish 6-10 and the Eagles finish 6-9-1 and get a home playoff game, can we play this back? Because I think it's happening.
We'll do it. We'll get the guys in the control room to lay it down. We'll save it. We'll put it in the vault. We'll roll it out December 28th, and you'll look like a genius.
This will go into the hopefully not file.
Yeah, but probably so.
Yes, probably so. All right, Kyle, as always, we thank you for the time. Hopefully we're talking about something a lot more pleasant next Tuesday.
We're going to be talking about Bills 41, Jets 6.
Whoa.
Wow. 41-6. Just flex on them.
Flex on them. All right, Steve's writing that one down, too. That'll be reminded to you next week as well. Thanks for the time, as always, sir.
See you guys. Love you. See you next time.
All right. Okay, always an entertaining chat with Kyle Brandt from Good Morning Football when he makes his weekly appearance on One Bills Live every Tuesday during the football season. All right, Steve, now time for a segment we like to call One Burning Question. We got to get like a flamethrower sound effect to go under me next time when we do One Burning Question segment.
We'll get some production
like a roaring fire or something. We all know who Rob Gronkowski is, former second-round pick in the New England Patriots, now playing for the Tampa Bay Bucks. And he followed Brady south to Florida, as we know. I think they hooked up on their 94th career touchdown together just this past week. And we know he was born in Amherst, New York, and went to Williamsville North High School for part of his high school career. So this week's burning question, Steve, for Bills fans, was Rob Gronkowski ever viewed as a Buffalo guy?
Oh, ever? Yeah, I think so. I think he was. He playing for the Patriots and having all the success they did, and him putting together what I think is probably a Hall of Fame career for a tight end. Absolutely, it is a Hall of Fame career for a tight end. I think Buffalo fans are pretty well adjusted to the fact that the guy, he got drafted by another team and he had a great career, even though we got to see him twice a year. Certainly, there was a couple of heated moments between Buffalo and Gronkowski, most notably the Trey White hit.
Yeah, when he
those kind of
dropped
things
him on the sideline.
Right, all of that. But I think for the most part, as time goes on, Buffalo will put its arms around Gronkowski and treat him as one of their own. I'm pretty confident in that.
I think when he played for the enemy, he kind of lost his I'm from Buffalo card because, I mean, he beat this Bills team up so many times.
And he was
Brady's right-hand man.
Yeah, I get it.
And I think that just it just poured salt in the wound. Everybody hated Brady, and this guy from Buffalo, of all people, was one of his right-hand men.
His best bud.
On the offense. So here, I looked it up, Steve. 15 career games for Rob Gronkowski against the Bills, okay? 69 receptions for 1,070 yards and 12 touchdowns. Holy moly. I mean, that is production to the highest degree. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 100-yard games in those 15 career games against the Bills. And if he's still playing next year, the Bills will see him
in Tampa,
one more time. Do you think he reduced the sting at all on the parts of Bills fans by going to play for Tampa Bay?
I think so. I think that changes a lot of things for a lot of people. And plus, I think particularly with this, I think it might depend on how much success the Bills team has, because there was always that envy looking over at what the Patriots were able to do and what they were doing in New England and the playoff and the huge run they had been on, and still, for all intents, they may still be on. So I think him going to another team humanizes him a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that goes a long way towards, at the end of it all, depending on how long it lasts in Tampa Bay. I mean, 1 year may not as much, but 2 years, I think people
I could just
do
see
that.
him walking up a Buffalo street, somebody recognize him. Hey, Gronk, you're a Buffalo guy, and we love you, and we're glad your career's over, and you're not killing us anymore, and don't ever show us any of your Super Bowl rings.
Yeah.
I can see a Buffalonian doing that.
Yeah, you're right. But I think eventually that'll happen, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a Buffalo guy, and he'll remain so.
Finally, here on One Bills Lite, we take a look at our most interesting Twitter poll from the week, which asked you, the Bills fan, after 2 straight losses, do you think the Bills can still win the AFC East, and why? And we got a lot of great answers, more than 1,600 votes cast the day we put that poll out. And for the choices, kind of worried about Miami, got just 10% of the vote. Still worried about New England, 27% of the vote. And heck yeah, it's all ours. The winning choice with a commanding 63% of the vote. After those 2 humbling losses, Steve, I'm surprised that the Bills fan base is still this confident.
Well, they were but before those games, it might have been up to 85%, right?
Well, yeah,
it might have been 90%. It would have been a lot higher. So there's no telling how many people's confidence was shaken. Certainly, the team came down to earth with 2 losses to 2 really good AFC opponents, and those losses may come back to haunt them. In tiebreakers and all of that stuff that's coming down the pipe. But the next 2 weeks against the Jets and the Patriots, it could put the division out of reach for the other teams if the Bills can win both of those games.
Yeah, those are gigantic games, which can largely kind of seal the deal on the division just after Halloween. I mean, that Patriots game's November 1st, the day after Halloween. They beat the Jets and beat the Patriots. They're 4-0 in the division with only 2 games to play. I mean, they're in the catbird seat at that point. And I believe the offense can get back to where they were the first month of the season. And if the defense can just get to the middle of the pack and be like Tre'Davious White said, a takeaway type defense to help complement the offense, I think they can get to 10-6. This is a challenging schedule. Oof. People might hear 10-6 and say, what are you talking about, Brownie? Have you looked at the schedule? I mean, Pittsburgh, San Fran,
Seattle.
I mean, even Arizona on the road is going to be a bear.
Twice. Patriots twice.
Arizona on the road is going to be a bear, man. That Kyler Murray is lighting it up. So they've got challenging games ahead.
It is. It's going to be a very
gauntlet
difficult schedule. Yeah.
But I believe 10 wins, provided they beat the Jets and the Patriots these next 2 weeks, as you suggested. Those are part of the 10-win total.
The Patriots, I'm still not giving them a wash.
Well, no, I know.
I don't care if the Patriots lose this week to the 49ers and walk in there at 2-5 or 2-4. They're a tough team to beat. The Patriots are a tough team. They're still going to be a tough team to beat. They're going to remain a very competitive team. And Cam Newton getting back and them getting into a rhythm now that they've put this COVID outbreak behind them and gotten a chance to get it underneath them. They're going to play tough, and they'll be able to push the Bills to the limit.
If the game against the Jets and the game against the Patriots these next couple of weeks are part of their 10-win total, I think 10 wins is enough to get the division and the AFC East. Sure. That's kind of where I stand. These next 2 games have to be part of that 10-win total, I think, to make 10 wins enough to win the AFC East for the first time since 1995. All right, that's all for us here on One Bills Lite. We hope you enjoyed the streamlined version of One Bills Live as we're in and out in about the time it takes for most of you to drive to work. And remember, if it can't be One Bills Live, there's always time for One Bills Lite. Sounds like a beer commercial, doesn't it?
It does.
Good stuff, Steve.
Next one's on me. Let's go.
All right. Take care, everybody.
See you guys.